For some gamers, there was a really big moment recently. On April 10th, Naval Action dropped its long-anticipated patch that truly changed the game. They closed the extra war server. Now all of the PvP players were consolidated to one server. They did a long overdue overhaul of combat and took a great combat system to an even better level. This game, with its rough history, suddenly looked like it was about to turn a corner, and players rushed back to the game, but they were dismayed with what they saw. Today we dive into this Naval Action patch and discuss some of its changes and the challenges around it. Today we discuss the patch that was supposed to bring the game into a new era, but now has left us all with the big question: will this game even survive? If this is your first time here, this channel focuses on multiplayer sim gameplay. So if you're into that, please subscribe. Before we dive into the challenges, let's talk about the good things about this patch, because I do think there are some really great changes and the developers should be applauded for them. In my mind, there are three major ones and one ancillary one. The first is that the fragmentation of the community across 3 servers is no longer, as all the PvP players have been consolidated on the Caribbean server. And on top of that, it's wipeless. Everything is permanent, and we do not have to start all over from a fresh wipe. This is one of the best decisions ever made, because this game always suffered from not having enough players in certain time zones. This is now not a problem, as everyone is on one server. And then you had the wipes. Games with wipes introduce a cycle of play. You play hard at the start of the wipe to gain a lead, and you just play less and less as the end of the wipe approaches because you don't want to waste your time. This is now no longer a problem. So in short, I feel like I am allowed to sink time into this game at any time because it's wipeless. The next big change that was done was reworking the damage system. The last time I played heavily, which was about a year and a half ago, it was really hard to kill ships from the side, and the classic broadside fight was replaced instead with stern chasing to do stern rakes to hole out an opponent. While the combat was great in this game, the previous meta sort of took the allure away from what you would expect from ships of the line fighting. Instead of big broadside fights, you had people fighting for tail position. This has now changed, with the combat being reworked, and honestly, it feels really good. And the ironic thing about it is that combat already really felt good in this game already. So kudos to the devs for taking the best part of the game and highlighting it even further. Broadsides do damage now. A third rate shooting into another third rate will do about a fifth of their armor damage, which over time has consequences. You need to pump out damage, and now there feels the need to really hold the line, even in smaller battles, to concentrate fire onto ships. They even reworked in-combat repairs, which were a big issue before. It was too easy to just tank through damage and repair any damage that was done. This made things frustrating, but now no more. Repairs do an acceptable amount of repair and can extend fights, but not to the point where it makes it impossible to sink someone. Simply said, the devs really nailed it, and I think the combat is the best it's ever been. The last big win and the ancillary win sort of go hand in hand, and it has to do with the map. Before, the map was mostly just PvE and had this green area as a safe zone where you could not engage enemy players. This left just Hispaniola, where only PvP could happen. Along with that, resources were too available. Players could generate resources like stone or iron pretty much anywhere, so crafters did not have to go anywhere. Basically, you could just sit in your PvE area, farm AI, craft materials, and because you were in a safe zone, you essentially could not be interacted with. It made this open world game feel really stale and dead. Along with that, there was no need to go to the PvP area unless you wanted to get into a fight, and that really reduced the strategic value of fights. Hispaniola was a Thunderdome, and it was not easy to find PvP fights in the wild outside of major port battles that took an immense amount of time to commit to. Now things are different. Most of the map is PvP. There is a safe area for new players in the Bahamas, but now the map offers a bigger play area where you can actually engage players. This is coupled with the ancillary win, which is that resources are more localized and specific. You can no longer generate resources wherever you want. Only specific ports are able to produce certain materials, and this forces players to leave their port, to sail around in the open PvP world, to collect resources and bring them back to their crafting ports. Suddenly, this makes the open world game feel like an open world. This has been a huge unlock in the game, and it can't be understated. It has given a lot of context to fight. It layers in a strategic element that makes things really interesting. In the past, instead of just ganking a trader ship that had no economic impact, you can now sit in shipping lanes and ambush traders who are trying to get materials to their crafting ports. This slows down the other side, denies them resources, and instead gives your side resources so you yourself can craft things for your side. This is interesting, and it wasn't possible before. and is by far one of the best changes the developers have made. But the issue is that it's not all good. Some changes have been great, but how they have executed it has really missed the mark. And this trading one is one in particular that has a bad side to it. So now we can transition to the challenges of this patch. I like to think that this game is generally agreed upon as being a good game on the cusp of being a great game, but held back by its grind and some unforced developer decisions that have made for a really disjointed experience, and this patch is no stranger to that. The biggest problem with this patch is the grind has become even worse, and it has reached the point where this game is on the border of being unplayable for veterans and completely inaccessible for new players. This may sound like a very extreme statement, but give me some time here and I will show you, because it's not. The first one of these unforced errors is the transition of making cannonballs and gunpowder a consumable resource. This means that you can no longer shoot your guns freely. A requirement to shooting now is you need cannonballs and the right amount of gunpowder to go with it. This has immediately led to the best part of the game being blocked off by a grind. What I mean by that is that in the game Naval Action, where players are expecting to take part in action on the sea, they are no longer able to do that freely because cannonballs and gunpowder need to be grinded out. Which is a damn shame because this is where the game really shines, and it is being made more inaccessible, which is going to hurt player retention. This game flourishes with its really intuitive sailing and combat system that is both accessible but also offers enough depth where it gives a really high skill ceiling. There is a lot of room for skill expression, and it makes for a really rewarding experience to dive into, learn, and master. So what's the big deal? Just loot some. That's the problem. Let's take me, for example. I am lucky enough to enter this wipe with the second highest rank in the game, meaning I can use all ships and have the Santa Ana DLC, so I can freely redeem a first-rate ship. The most efficient way to loot is by taking the ship and boarding enemy AI ships, and I am generally met with a paltry amount of loot. Around 1,000 doubloons, 50 cannonballs, and 200 gunpowder. To give a sense of scale, my first rate has over 100 guns. This isn't even enough cannonballs to fire all of them once. And you need about a 10-to-1 ratio of gunpowder to cannonballs. I estimate that if you are at a good port and have a first rate, you can farm about one ship every 20 minutes. So that is 3 ships per hour, or 3,000 doubloons per hour, which translates to about 96,000 reals, 150 cannonballs, and 600 gunpowder. In order to go out to sea to do battle in a ship of the line, you need to have at least 2,000 cannonballs and 20,000 gunpowder. At the rate of loot generation, which assumes I do not expend any cannonballs, as I'm just killing AI via boarding, means I would need to board for 13.3 hours straight to get 2,000 cannonballs, and be boarding for 33.3 hours straight to generate enough gunpowder. Again, that is just to get enough loot so you can get enough ammunition to go play some PvP. That is not reasonable. I'm an average level player in this game. I am certainly not the best. I like to think I have slightly above a 50% chance to win a fight in the wild. I found myself swallowing hard when I realized I'm about to lose a fight. Not because I think I should win. Like I said, I am mediocre, and I'm still at the point where I don't mind losing a fight. Because each fight I lose is a learning lesson, and I still am learning a lot. The issue is that what hurts is losing the ammo and losing the gunpowder when I sink. One 30-minute fight takes hours to prepare for, and if you lose all that time investment and those resources. Even if you win the fight, you still spend a ton of ammo and gunpowder, and hey, surprise, the enemy is also shooting back at you. When you loot dead players, you typically do not find that much ammo and gunpowder to make you whole. If this is hard for me to accept, imagine how it is for a new player, a player who doesn't have the support of a larger clan, doesn't have the experience in how to and navigate fights. A new player is certainly not winning at least 50% of their fights. They are sheep to the slaughter, and they have no reasonable way to bounce back from losses. It simply takes way too much time to be able to get enough basic combat fighting materials to be able to actually play the game. This game has made itself inaccessible to new players, and games like this need new players in order to succeed. Now, some of you may be typing down in the comments and saying, well, you can't loot yourself to self-sufficiency, but you can use the market. Okay, let's talk about that. In the first section, I talked about how one of the best changes of this game is how they open up the map and made resources more localized. This has made the game certainly more interesting. The issue is that it's been done at a bit of an extreme level, and the player economy is not a viable option to gather resources because of the need to grind money and the grind in time to collect materials so you can craft things yourself. Let's talk about just cannonballs. In order to be able to start crafting cannonballs, you need the following resources. The money amount doesn't seem too bad, but the issue in this case is time. One, the resources are very hard to come by. It takes a significant amount of time to get them all. Let's look at my trade routes of what I do. In order to craft cannonballs, I need iron ore and oak logs. From there, I can craft charcoal and iron fittings to then combine them to craft cannonballs. Let's go get these materials. I craft in pit sound, so I have to cross out of the safe zone and into the PvP zone to get down to Port au Prince and buy iron, which I then have to sail across a very PvP area again. I need to make this trip worth it, so I use a trader ship that costs around 30,000 reals, and it also signals to everyone that I'm a juicy target. There is no guarantee that I can make it, and it is totally possible I get intercepted along the way. This round trip takes an hour or 2 hours if I'm smart, because I may wait for a friend to come and escort me. So an hour later, my iron is now in Pitstown. I can then go to my iguana and collect oak logs, which takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and I bring them to Pitstown. After all this, I can then finally craft cannonballs. Great. I have just spent over 1 hour of my time collecting the requirements to be able to generate one of the most basic consumables in the game, but it's useless on its own. I still don't even have gunpowder. For gunpowder, I need salt pepper, sulfur, and more oak. This will take another hour to collect and again assumes I do not get caught when doing it. After all that, I then will be able to craft both cannonballs and gunpowder, but I still am missing medicine for my crew, rig repairs for my sails, and hull repairs to repair my ship. Are things becoming really clear yet? There is a massive time investment here to just collect the basic resources to be able to play the actual game, to take part in some actual naval action, i.e. combat. I spoke with one of the most seasoned crafters that I know in this game, and he estimates that a veteran like him would need a small fleet of 3 ships in 3 hours to collect all the resources required to be able to outfit a DLC third rate, which isn't even the largest ship in the game. This means that you aren't even crafting the boat itself or gathering the necessary money to even buy the crafting materials. This is just the time to collect it all so you can craft the things so you can outfit a paid DLC boat to be combat ready. This is a huge time investment, and it assumes that you never got intercepted in your collection of materials, because it is totally possible you get caught in transit by an enemy player. 3 hours to collect all of this in order to just be able to start playing in combat. And if you are a new player, forget about it. To make matters worse, everyone else has realized you can't loot yourself to self-sufficiency, and you have to craft in order to sustain yourself. This has put pressure on the market. These ports that generate resources like oak logs do not produce an infinite amount. They only make a certain amount to be available to purchase every hour. Players are scooping up these resources, and the competition is getting fierce. The more players play, the more cannons they shoot, and the need to craft increases even more. This is basic supply and demand. The supply is fixed while the demand is going up as people are playing or shooting more. The prices have to go up. Players are able to make contracts where they can make above market buy prices to secure resources. I got stuck in my crafting progression for around 12 hours because I could not secure molasses. I had to pay over 10x the price to get enough molasses so I could craft rum and unlock the next item in the crafting tree. I love player economies, but this has made the game even more inaccessible to new players. They can't compete in these bidding wars. They can't compete with the sweaty clan members that are running multiple alts and are grinding nonstop. People can't loot their way to being self-sufficient, and it's too costly to grind money to be able to buy the resources. And even if you could, it takes too much time to gather all the resources together to be able to craft them. This is crushing all of us. There are some good things with this patch, and I applaud the developers for it, but there are certainly some bad ones, and it needs to be said. I think what it really boils down to is that ultimately what this game is maybe losing sight of is that while there are some very dedicated players who love to grind this game, there are a ton of normal people who can't sustain this level of grinding to be able to play. A ton of normal people who just simply can't sustain this level of grinding just to be able to play. And this is already hurting the game, and it will continue to do so until there's no one left to play with. Think about a regular person who works a 9 to 5 job, who has friends, other hobbies, a family. They may only play something like 14 hours per week. That's 2 hours per day. Let's assume that this person knows what they are doing and they only die 3 times per week. Every time they die, that's at least 3 hours to recover themselves to be able to play again. So that's 9 hours in grinding out of the 14 hours, or 64% of the time. This is just the basic calculation, assuming they already have reached the levels to be able to craft certain things and already have the money to buy the materials. This is just the time to collect the resources, not even the money to buy the materials. I talked to that veteran crafter player. He told me it took him 70 hours to reach the max crafting level using 5 accounts, or a total playtime of 350 hours. The alts were generating money while the main account was grinding the crafting tree. This is just to reach the highest crafting level. Every time he wants to outfit a ship, not craft a ship, but just to outfit one with combat riggings, it will take another couple of hours. This game has morphed from naval action to naval job, and the developers have lost the plot. So we are around less than a month after the patch drop, and players are really starting to feel it. To make matters worse, the developers have added AI raiders who are now raiding player-owned ports. Clans must now defend their ports, not from just each other, but from actual AI, which is randomly selecting ports every single day to attack. Let me just say the obvious. Fighting AI does not feel good. The main draw of this game is fighting players because the game offers a lot of room for skill expression, and fighting AI doesn't allow for that. You cheese AI, you have interesting fights with players. You need 25 players in first-rate ships to be able to defend a big port from AI raiders. Assuming all 25 of these players were using the DLC first rate, so you don't even have to craft the boats, it would take about 1.15 million reals to outfit them. Remember my boarding math? It would take you about 12 hours of boarding AI to generate the reals to be able to buy all the materials, not even to collect them in order to craft them. And that's just to defend a port from AI. That is a never-ending thing that's happening every single day. This is crushing the big clans, and we have already seen some of the clans dissolve and consolidate. This isn't the only time sink the developers have added. The developers are actively pushing back, trying to stop players from cutting corners in the grind. Remember how I mentioned my lead generation by boarding? The developers caught wind of players doing this and started to nerf it significantly to make it even harder. They are fighting the players as the players try to find a way so they can actually play the game with each other. If boarding doesn't become viable anymore, then it would take hundreds of cannonballs and thousands of gunpowder barrels to be able to kill an AI ship. So this soul-crushing grind would get even worse. The overall recommendation is that the grind needs to be reduced so that the ratio between the grind and the play can reach a healthier level, and I don't think reducing the crafting recipes will be enough. Loot from killing AI, like gunpowder and cannonballs, needs to be increased significantly. To me, it seems reasonable that each AI ship should be dropping at least 1,000 cannonballs and 10,000 gunpowder. That way, every 2 AI ships you kill, you sustain yourself for 1 PvP fight. Or better yet, make cannonballs free again and just make the specialty rounds like grape shot or chainball cost money. You could even make the loot per ship type drastically different and push players into certain parts of the map where there is more valuable loot. There are a lot of different ways to try to approach this. These are just some ideas that I came up with, but they're really just used to get the conversation started. I don't have all the answers because I am not an expert in this game, but I know enough to identify the problem. The population came roaring back. We were all excited to play, and this patch has crushed people, and we are losing people, and this game didn't have a big margin of error to begin with. We want a game, not a job. This video is made to get the word out, to facilitate a discussion because it needs to happen. The developers have responded to suggestions with a heavy hand by making the grind worse and by banning people from the Discord, including myself. I got banned for telling the developers they have lost the goodwill from the players. While they have the right to ban people from the Discord, they do not get a choice about not hearing this feedback because this video was made and it will reach the community and the developers. The only choice that they have left is to decide if they want to action this feedback. To take this good game to a great game, let me know where you're at with this game in the comments below. I'm really hoping this video helps to move them in the right direction. But if it doesn't, it may be time to organize ourselves. I'm sure a collective move of the community can send a clear message if this video isn't enough. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe. Thanks.